Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Premier Sim Gaming League's round number 10 here in the PC F2 tier, and it could well be a championship decider tonight here in Texas, the circuit of the Americas, for the USA Grand Prix. My name is Luke Etheridge. Unfortunately, Chris Buxton can't join us tonight, but I've got a more than worthy replacement alongside me in Sam Thompson. Sam, how are you doing?
Good evening, Luke. Good evening, everybody. And, well, we're all excited for this, aren't we? It's the first time this season, obviously in PCF1, it obviously got postponed in the end, but it's the first time of the season where arguably the top tier at the moment, obviously, is not the top tier overall. We have a potential championship decider, and we all love the end of seasons and things more than the start, because this is where the busy time comes for all the drivers. They all get their heads down, and particularly the ones at the front, they get their heads down because, of course, they're in a championship battle. And, well, we've got some interesting names in there, and, well, we've got some interesting conditions for qualifying, but more about that in a second.
Yeah, so if you weren't with us for the last race at Saudi Arabia, plenty of stuff happened. I mean, it's the Jeddah Corniche circuit. We always get crazy races there. It was Alfie Butcher who, from pole position, took his third victory of the season. Every time he starts on pole, Alfie takes a victory. It was a pretty dominant victory by PC standards. Very close behind him, though. Mirko Soriano and Drake Dempsey on their debut. 27 thousandths of a second separating those guys. Pedreño finishing in 4th, and Joost Noordijk, the other big championship contender, finishing down in 10th place. So what that has done for the Drivers' Championship standings, as you can see on your screen there, Alfie Butcher has an 8-point lead at the moment over Ruben Pedreño. Joost Noordijk is 1 point further back. Max Wiesel and Duncan Hofland, both mathematically, are still in this championship. But as we said before, Sam, you're going to have to do a sort of Kimi Räikkönen 2007 levels of comeback here to have any chance of winning this title.
Yeah, they're going to have a lot of fortune, and, well, with the weather we've got in qualifying, a little bit of a drizzle out there at the moment, I believe it gives us an opportunity to potentially have that perhaps randomness in a race, so potentially they may have a chance to at least keep themselves in the championship to the final round. But let's be honest with you, 4th and 5th, they would need probably an absolute miracle to win the title. But the top three, very, very close. But simply put, if Alfie wins tonight, which he is the driver in form, isn't it? 4 podiums in the last 5 races, 2 wins in that as well. A win tonight and everything. And let's say, for example, Ruben finishes second. Basically, it's just I think it's a P7, is it? That he'll have to get in the final race. So, yeah, very, very promising for Alfie Butcher at the front. And at USA, I believe he's going strong at the moment here. But this grid is all strong. Everyone is very, very close. I don't really think times really come to the equation when it comes to saying drivers are looking strong.
Yes, certainly. I mean, Joost Noordijk only once failed to get a podium so far this season. That was last time around at Saudi Arabia. Simplest scenarios for the championship is if Ruben or Joost finish on the podium, it will carry on to Silverstone. If Alfie's outside for top 4, it will carry on to Silverstone. There's plenty that can happen in between that, though, as we know. But we're going to go on board with someone who's had a very good day today. He's just been renounced as a development driver for the Alfa Romeo team. It is Carter Lundy, the Canadian, as he makes his way up the hill towards turn number 1 on the Dakota circuit. The 10th different circuit to be used in Formula 1 in the United States. And we've had Miami join since then. And we'll be getting another one in Las Vegas next year. Down the hill now through turn number 2. Just getting on the curb there. Lethal in these wet conditions. And now coming through the S's. Inspired by Maggots, Beckett and Chappell. Which, of course, we will be seeing in a week's time. 27.9. Through the first sector for Carter at the moment. The rear of the car really wanting to escape from him at the moment in the Alfa Romeo. He now makes his way down once again through turn number 10, where we saw Sebastian Vettel have a bit of trouble with his suspension in 2019. And then in towards turn number 11. A crucial corner in the race. It's important you get a good exit out of here, because, of course, this will be a DRS zone as long as it is dry for the race. No such DRS at the moment, of course, in the wet conditions. Everyone using a set of the intermediate tyres as Carter Lundy makes his way down towards the best overtaking opportunity, turn number 12. And then into this Stadium S section, you'll see drivers sort of battling with each other at this part of the circuit. Through in towards turn number 13, Carter taking it very steady at the moment, indeed, in these conditions. Through in towards turn number 14 and 15 there. And the Canadian driver making his way through this, nearly losing the rear of the car in fact, as he makes his way through 16, 17 and 18. Now it's all about just making sure you keep it nice and clean through these final couple of corners. Turn number 19, no such IndyCar line that we see some of the drivers take over the years there. You will get yourself a penalty for doing that in towards turn number 20. That was a very steady lap of the Austin circuit from Cartalondi, a 1:43.702. We've got Max Wiesel out on circuit as well at the moment. We'll just see what some of these other drivers are doing. Another car coming across the line. Floris Baez goes fastest of everyone on a 1:43.689. It looks very tricky out there. I mean, you saw Carter quite a few times was having to catch the car.
Well, it's possible, obviously, with the wet conditions, obviously, of course, track not acclimatization. The track still needs to warm up, so we're not at the grippiest stage, but also with it being wet as well, the track's still a bit damp, and there's no line really been set for the drivers. You notice, obviously, in real life, when we're in these sort of conditions, you see, obviously, there is sort of a damp, sort of dryish line that does appear after, like, a couple of laps. And obviously at the start of the race, it's just still very, very wet. So the times will easily climb down. And I think we've seen that already from most of them. It went from Carter to Floris, now Will Lewis at the top. So, yeah, times are obviously going to dramatically come down quick. And I also think the grip on these cars is going to go up very, very quickly. But everyone's still just setting their first laps. And another thing, of course, in these wet conditions you don't want to do is you don't want to really go all out on your first lap and end up putting it in the wall. Not that I want to jinx anyone for that, but I think every driver's just going to take it a little bit steady at the moment, and obviously just wait to their final laps when they feel comfortable enough in the conditions to set the fastest lap they can possible.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting how we've got a few drivers out there. You can see, you know, big names, Ruben Pedreño and Joost Noordijk, two of them that have just stayed in the pit lane at the moment. So clearly not bothered about getting those extra runs on the circuit. We'll see how Cartalondi does. He's going slower on this lap, in fact, so he won't be improving. You do see drivers in the wet conditions put quite a bit of fuel in, do multiple laps just to see how they can get along. But yeah, no one really gaining too much time on their second runs at the moment. So it is Will Lewis who is fastest with 6.5 minutes to go. Alfie Butcher in second place. Christoph Scheller in third. I know it's early days, but if the grid finishes like this and then the race finishes like this, we would see Alfie claim the championship. Let us know in the chat who you think is going to get pole position and whether you think Alfie can win the title tonight. And if you want to do some real-life F1 predicting, you can use the Grid Rival app, a link down in the description below. Let's not also forget our lead partners here at PSGL, GT Omega. Use the code PSGL to get 5% off. A few more drivers are now just starting to venture their way around the circuit. Jack West has managed to get himself up into 5th place. Andrei Tarabukin invalidated in the McLaren, one of the reserve drivers that we are seeing tonight. He's replacing Ruben Vallejo, who we've not seen quite a bit, I don't believe, Ruben at the moment, but we'll see what Tarabukin can do on his second run. He's had a bit of a disastrous season at the moment, certainly by his high standards, yet to score any points, but what can he do as he comes across the line? Well, he's certainly enjoying the wet conditions. Fastest time by 4.5 tenths. You don't normally see that too much in league racing.
You definitely don't, especially not anymore on this competitive sort of grid, but obviously I was just relaying my point. The more the time goes down, the quicker the track becomes, and I think the drivers are going to start to get down into, if I'm honest with you, I predict we'll get into the 41s, if not the 40s here. If we're thinking of 4 tenths gained alone on the previous pole lap in a couple of minutes, as Cartalondi then goes an extra 3 tenths quicker. So that, in my opinion, that really solidifies the point of the track is really starting, the drivers are starting to really get to grips with the track finally. And I think we've still got some time to go down, and I'm not sure, but I think it may have stopped raining, or it is raining very, very lightly. So potentially in the next 9 minutes, could the track possibly dry up enough potentially for the drivers obviously to head out onto the slicks? And well, we look at the tyre usage on the right-hand side of the standings board. Got a couple of drivers there contemplating soft tyres, and well, if they have to go out now, I think it is still a bit too damp, but that does kind of give me a hint to suggest that potentially we could have some dry lap times coming in towards the end of this session.
Yeah, it'd be a bold call, I think, at this moment in time. I think we'd all admit that if we are to see anyone go out on a set of softs right away. We've just had Matthew Older go out once again on a set of the intermediate tyres. Well, Lewis has also gone out on another set of the intermediate, so they're hoping that it will stay fairly damp at the moment. We'll see what Norbert Jakob can do as he gets his Red Bull towards the finish line on his first run in the qualifying session. He's going to be, well, of course, it was going to be a bit further down than that. Third place, not a bad lap whatsoever. It is still raining out on the circuit at the moment, and then it does take a bit of time to dry, but normally, I remember on the last F1 game, normally when the delta between the inters and the softs was about 2.5 seconds in favour of the intermediates, by the time you'd finish your fast lap, track was better, and you would be able to improve on your lap time. So something around there might be what the engineers and the drivers are looking for on their screens at the moment. Istvan Pukki heads towards the finish line. He now gets himself up into third place, replacing his Fez teammate. Istvan Pukki, last time out, getting his first top 5 finish of the season. Certainly wanting to finish this year on a bang. But it is Lundy, Tarabukin, Pukki, your top 3. And still 6 drivers yet to set a time. They're definitely all hoping, I think, that we are going to get some dry conditions at the end. Because, like we said, in these intermediate conditions, you want to be out there. You want to be learning. You want to be learning the track. One set of intermediate conditions can be totally different to another set, of course.
Well, I don't really want to predict anything or suggest anything, but I'm actually contemplating whether we're going to get a wet race because we do obviously get people coming out, and I think it's a bit risky. I think these drivers would even admit it themselves, as much as they may not want to. It might be just a bit risky, maybe staying in till the last minute, not getting a lap time in on the inters. But I'm actually wondering whether they're doing this potentially to save some intermediates for the race, because obviously you only get a certain amount of intermediate tires, and if in the race and everything you need to use them for the whole race, for example, you don't want to go on to use sets of intermediates for your second run of intermediates, do you? So I'm actually wondering whether that's a possibility, but again, we don't know the weather for the race. We don't have any graphic or anything to show us any of the weather in the race, so who knows. But I think that is rather a valid suggestion. Potentially that could be the case, but well, the majority haven't thought that way, and perhaps it is just a case, like you said, Luke, just waiting for the track to dry up enough to go out on the softs.
Yes, and Andrei Tarabukin has gone for that. Probably, obviously, right down at the back of the championship, nothing to lose. This looks like a very good lap by Ismail Fassi. 1.4 seconds faster than what anyone else has done. So, yeah, that says it all. The track conditions are definitely improving at this moment in time, as there's a very slow-moving McLaren on the track map. And £5 says that is going to be Andrei Tarabukin sliding all over the place on this set of the soft tyres. I mean, yes, it has stopped raining out there at the moment. Can't see any rain coming down on the halo. There is a bit of spray coming off the T-cam, but it's decidedly wet at the moment. Now, yes, you want to get out early at this point. You want to be on that set of soft tyres, I think. You want to be getting out fairly early to just find where the grip is. Go out too early, though, you could very easily stack it in the wall. And if you're the likes of Pedreño and Nordyke, you can't afford to do that when your championship rivals in the top 10 at the moment.
Yeah, well, definitely, but I mean, I literally looked at that as soon as you mentioned he was on the soft, so I went on board with Tarabukin, and immediately all I just saw was him in the wall, and it suggests to me we're nowhere near soft tyres, and that's kind of damaged him. But sometimes you kind of get a glitch where you go into the wall, you could go in as soft as possible, and you could actually be out. So yeah, Tarabukin had to be really careful with that, and in a way he's kind of lucky because it did look like he took a heavy hit to the wall, but he'll come into the pits now. It does look like he's got enough time to change, obviously, the damage and get rid of the damage, and obviously change those tyres on that car now, because he probably won't want to go out again on those used softs, as he's got another 3 pairs. But there is a lot of contemplating going on in the pits. There's a lot of times now in this session I've seen drivers switch from the soft tyres to the inters, back to the softs, then to the inters again, and Joost Noordijk being one of them. It looked like he was on the soft tyres on that selection for quite a while, and now he's onto the intermediate. So it suggests to me a lot of things go around. And actually, speaking of Joost Noordijk, he's actually coming out of the pits now. So with only 4 minutes to go, that kind of just gives me the idea this is the tyre set he's going to go for this qualifying.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we've got an esports driver in the chat, a teammate now, of course, of Joost Noordijk, Matthias van Erven. I wonder what Matthias would do in conditions like these, because this is where, you know, all that practice kind of just goes out the window a tiny bit. You've just got to play it by ear and see what the conditions are like lap after lap after lap. Fassi, Baena, Older, Lewis, Pedreño, the top 5 at the moment. Alfie Butcher's not been out for a run since earlier on. You know, we've still got Lusing, Nordyke and Ben Shishabo Konye that have yet to set any times. I think someone might have got it wrong on the way into the... I'm not sure if someone got it wrong on the way into the pit lane there, but yeah, drivers still quite unsure what to do. I think, given the amount of spray, we are going to see these tyres all the way to the end. We are going to see intermediate tyres. Normally in qualifying, you want to be the last driver out there on the circuit. I think that's even more crucial now. We know it takes a long time to dry up on this game, but if you're the last car across the line, you are going to get the best tyre conditions by a long way. And we saw that from Fassi early on. He was able to take what was provisional pole position by 1.4 seconds.
Yeah, well, it's a 1 minute 40 lap in the wet conditions, as we can see, obviously, and that's not even including the warm-up lap, obviously, which will probably take a bit longer because people will want to warm up their tyres a bit more, as I'm on board with Matthew Older, and he's pretty much certifying that for me. But those like Joost Noordijk, Danny Lusink, and Bent, they've got a very interesting couple of laps now, particularly Danny and Bent's still in the pits right now, and well, everyone's switching to the soft tyres all of a sudden. So has Joost Noordijk made a bit of a fluff here with choosing the intermediate tyres, or potentially has he gone the right way? And well, we could speak the same for Duncan Hofland as well.
Yes, I mean, it was too late then for him. If he wanted to come in the pits on that lap, he wouldn't have been able to change them in time. Max Wiesel's gone out of set on softs and has instantly pirouetted the car at turn number 1. But if you can survive this out lap, as I said, you might be fine on your next lap. They could be the best tyres to have. You could be setting, you know, 130-somethings, and everyone else is struggling down in the 140s, and they're right at the back of the grid. So this is going to be extremely intriguing indeed in the final moments of the qualifying session. Joost Noordijk is still finding time on that set of the intermediate tyres. 7 tenths up coming through sector 1. He repeats that across the rest of the lap. He will be challenging Ismail Fassi at the top of the standings. So this is going to be very intriguing indeed. 107.1 through sector 2. He's 1.6 seconds up. It's no matter what tyres you're on at the moment, you are going to improve. But everyone, well, the vast majority of the field is only Baena, Lewis, Pookie, Hofland, and most importantly, Joost Noordijk, that have gone for that green-walled set of the intermediate tyres. And if it dries out anymore, they could find themselves in big trouble. Not because their tyres will overheat too much. We know interslicks work brilliantly on this game, but just because everyone will be going so much faster on the softs. Hofland towards the line takes provisional pole position by half a second, but I'd say it's looking more and more likely that he's not going to stay there, and we could see the Dutch duo of Noordijk.
He slowed his lap. He slowed his lap.
Off.
No, yeah, Noordijk's backed off, and well, he's got one more lap to come in, but I looked on board with Duncan, and through turns 16 to 18, he was sliding all over the place, suggesting that his tyres are overheating. So, and well, with Joost slowing down as well, it gives kind of a suggestion of that as well. So, really, this is nail biting, because all those soft tyre drivers need to do is just be quick. And well, looking at the likes of all of them, they're just sliding about all over the place. So, I have no idea who's going to be on pole here.
No, and I think Big C's right. This is exciting stuff, folks. 20 minutes to go, well, 20 seconds to go. I think you can pick one of 20 cars to take pole position. At the moment, just trying to work out who the last car across the line is going to be. It might be one of the Mercedes of Lewis or Baena, to be honest. Might be the last cars in the session. I think Rory might have left it a bit late, but we're on board then with Floris Byers. Barely scored any points so far this season as the former esports driver. 8th place at round number 1 in Austria was his best finish, and he's purple in sector 1. And there we go, checkered flag is all. Older, West and Jacob left it too late, so I think they could be 18th, 19th and 20th on the grid at the moment. And it is, I was about to say it's an AlphaTauri, but they've just had a spinner there of, I think that was Istvan Pookie, who's, no, it wasn't Istvan Pookie, sorry, it would have been his teammate, Christoph Scheller, who's gone round at turn number 1, so I don't think we'll be seeing him get any improvements in. The car you're going to want to be in this session is either one of the Mercedes, or maybe an Alfa Romeo, maybe someone like Carter Lundy, who is currently just stuck behind his teammate. And Ben's right, they've all... No, we've got a 5.5 kilometre circuit here, and everyone seems to have picked the same part of the track. For whatever reason, everyone's left it really late. Joost Noordijk's improving, but he's not improving too much. For a Dutchman who's got hopes of winning the championship, He's going to be a long, long way down the order here. Nordyke comes across the line. It's going to be pole position for now on a 1:40.0. But I think we're going to see that time get absolutely smashed out the park soon by Floris Reyes. He's 1.1 seconds up on this lap. Comes across the line. Have the soft tyres got enough grip? He slides towards the line. He goes 4 tenths faster. You're going to want to be on the softs, everyone.
Wow, I mean, I don't know what to say. Real last second stuff from everyone. I think Joost is going to be absolutely kicking himself. We said this midway through qualifying, how crucial this decision was going to be, particularly for those three at the front. And Ruben Pedreño and Alfie Butcher, they've got it right. Joost Nordic, just look at him going down and down that standings. And, well, he's in 13th. That's not actually too bad, if I'm honest with you, the way he's finished. I was expecting a bit worse than that, but I still think he'd be kicking himself, Joost, because he probably knew, well, how important this qualifying was. And, well, his two championship rivals being in P1 and P4, and him being down in P13, there is a lot of time to be gaining. But still look at the intermediate tyre drivers. He weren't actually the quickest out of them. Will Lewis set his quickest intermediate time of a 39.6. So Will Lewis was actually really quick on the intermediates in the end. But, well, the soft tyres were, in the end, the ones to be on. But not all of them actually improved on those soft tyres, interestingly.
Now, the big news then. Pedreño on pole position. Butcher in 4th. Joost Nordyke down towards 13th. It's going to be an exciting race, folks. We'll be back with the US Grand Prix straight after this break. Right then, everyone, here we are at the Circuit of the Americas. 5.513 kilometres, 3.423 miles, 2 DRS zones, and it is going to be that one, of course, down towards turn number 12, where we see plenty of action, and it's going to be the first time we've actually seen anyone be able to use the DRS today. So, yeah, be intriguing to see once we get that, of course, after 2 laps in the race, and it is not long to go before we will be underway. If they finish as they qualify, the championship will be going to the next round, and Butcher and Pedreño would be tied on points going into Silverstone. But who is going to be the star here at the Lone Star State? 5 lights are on. They go out, and we're underway for the USA Grand Prix. What are the starts like? Straight away, Pedreño is going to have to cover off Ismail Fassi, the Alpine driver, trying to get the inside line in towards turn 1. And there goes Butcher, attacking. Alfie Butcher, out of nowhere, takes the lead of this race. Fassi up in towards 2nd, Pedreño in 3rd. A few cars having to go off there in the background as they snake their way through the S's. For the first time, it looks like everyone has made it through the first few corners cleanly. Joost Nordyke having to battle. Oh, there's contact. Jack West and Isman Pookie there making contact. Pookie's out of the session. West got big damage to his front wing. And that, my friends, is a virtual safety car straight away at the start of this race. What a start it was for Alfie Butcher. I mean, it looked like Fassi got a decent start, but they both, himself and Pedreño, both just left the door open for Butcher.
Well, you said at the start of the stream and everything, when Alfie's got pole position, he's gone on to win the race. Can we arguably count this as a pole position? Because we went through turn 1 and he's already in the lead of this race, so it didn't take him too long. And I believe he started P3 as well, so it was an incredible dive down the inside. But as you said, Luke, Ruben Pedreño and Ismail Fassi not even bothering to cover him off, and in the end, Alfie in the lead of this race, bizarrely at the end of lap 1. Well, unless something really dramatic happens, as I think we're just about to get back underway again, as I see the drivers slowly speeding up, but not too much. But wow, that was a very interesting start for everyone, and well, everyone going the medium tyres first of all. We hadn't had time to talk about the tyre selection. Everyone going the mediums, except for Jack West and Carter Lundy, who look to be on the charge, but well, Jack West doesn't because he has to come into the pits now.
Yes, and it's in fact, Alfie actually started in 4th place on the grid as Jack West. He's had a tough season as Jack. He's out of the race. 5-second penalty for starting, well, for speeding in the pit lane. No interest in carrying on in this race. And I think Luke Humphries makes a very interesting point. We're seeing a lot of medium and soft runners. This isn't something you typically see. It's normally medium and hard. So, are we going to get a few more drops of rain in this race? Maybe that's why drivers, like you said, Sam, we're saving the intermediate tyres. But we are back to green flag action. These top three have got a bit of a gap over Jacques Laverty at the moment. Max Wiesel, who, like we said, still mathematically has a chance of taking the championship. Well, realistically, himself and Duncan Hopland need to take a victory here and hope for disasters. For Butcher, Pedreño and Nordyke. Max in 7th place at the moment. Benchishabo Conye goes a bit deep in towards turn number 10 there. Well, turn number 11. That's going to give someone else a chance. That's going to give Floris Vyers the chances. That is Primoz Miklavčić out of this race. He's made contact of it with Danny Lusing. Floris Vyers trying it round the outside in towards the hairpin at number 12. Benchishabo Conye is going to have that one covered, and I think Floris probably should have given up a bit earlier than he did there because he wasn't really far enough alongside to be given the space. But I mean, we're seeing fantastic battling all the way down the field. Already 3 drivers having retired, as that is Max Wiesel making the move on Floris. And that's kind of the situation you're in these early stages. If you go for a move and you don't make it stick, you can very easily find yourself dropping down the field.
Yeah, and this is a track that's tricky to keep behind, obviously, particularly through Sector 1. Obviously, with the dirty air obviously playing a factor, and doesn't really affect most drivers, but I noticed Alfie had a lot more pace, obviously, through this first sector than Ruben on the restart wave. Maybe that was tyre warmer, but obviously I'm talking more or less about that dirty air, and I think we'll see it again here. So Alfie's pretty comfortable at the moment, but that comfortability doesn't exactly go around for all, because if we are either looking for a dry race or not, it's usually quite warm in Texas, particularly in the Austin area. So for when those pit and everything, maybe the undercut is the way to go, because it's a moderately large lap here as well, about 1 minute and 33 seconds, I think, roughly, as a rough estimation, because I haven't seen really a race lap, but I know it's in the 1 minute 30 something around this track, but it is a moderately long lap. It's not exactly like your Monaco where it's quite a small lap, and obviously it's warm as well, so tyres will warm up quite a bit for then, so possibly we could see the undercut work. But I think we talked about the soft tyres as well, which was interesting. Danny Lusink, even more interestingly, going onto a set of softs. Is he just going to go for the fastest lap, or is this genuine strategy, which, again, as we mentioned, does this pinpoint potentially rain?
It could do indeed. Well, Lewis was attacking Floris Vyers there. Again, couldn't get the move work. Got a bit of wheel spin, and Carter Lundy on those soft tyres says thank you very much. So that is the Canadian man up in towards 8th place. Joost Noordijk has got himself into the points, but I think, at the moment, to stay in the championship hunt going into the next race, he's going to have to gain a lot more positions as Alfie Butcher sets the fastest lap of the race. Quickly taken off him by Benchishabo Conye, and it would not surprise me if we see that tumble and tumble and tumble throughout the next few moments. Everyone apart from Danny Lusing is in that DRS train as Christoph Scheller thinks about a move on Ika Baena. There's contact between the two of them, and Baena just ends up losing out in that one. Scheller up towards 12th, Baena down into 13th place at the moment. These top three are putting some serious pace on, because if we go on board with Jacques Laverty, he's struggling to stay within a second at the moment, and in fact, that is a drop of rain. There we go. That is how early the rain is coming. It's happened already. We have got rain here at Austin. Now, how quickly will the track get wet? We know on this game, we've seen it before, that the track doesn't tend to dry out too quickly. Intrigued to see how quickly it gets wet here.
Yeah, well, I hate to mention myself and everything, but a couple of seasons ago it started raining at the last couple of laps in the league race that I was doing, and how quickly it changed. I decided to go onto the intermediates with 3 laps to go and end up winning the race because of it. So obviously strategy plays a big part going from dries to wet, but interestingly, obviously the soft tyres will be more favoured over the mediums for a little bit longer. As you already see, Flores starting to slide a little bit there. That could be just the tyres getting a bit too hot, because surely it's not damp enough yet to come into the pits. But for Carter Lundy here, this is a little bit of a good opportunity, because as the track becomes greasier, it will take a little bit longer for those soft tyres to be heavily affected by it over the mediums. And well, he started this race brilliantly because he's moved up 4 positions. Now is the time for him to charge, but well, speaking of charge, his ERS doesn't really give him much things to attack with, so really this is all going to be about pure pace and obviously sending it down the inside. And well, he's done that on Flores, but not got the position done there, and that's a wasted opportunity as well, yeah, Flores is out of DRS now, so a bit of a needle there for Carter Lundy. He doesn't really need that, but he's in 8th place. He's happy where he is, and well, DRS disabled, so we could be on to the intermediates as quicker than I thought. And well, Iker Baena already on the Inter, so with DRS disabled, this could be really a very interesting strategy here for Iker. And well, if he does come out, if he does make the strategy work, he's definitely going to gain a lot of positions, isn't he?
Yeah, he definitely is as well. Lewis and Carter Lundy having a drag race here down the back straight here. Who's going to take the victory in this one? It looks like Will Lewis has just got ahead. Both of them flashing on their ERS. You'll notice we've changed the gap to leader just to try and see how things are going at the moment between the gap between Baena and the rest of the field. And he's keeping it, fairly constant at the moment. I think this lap, we could see the entire pack coming to the pits for the set of the intermediate tyres. And it will be interesting to see whether Baena is going to gain anything from that. Bit of contact there between Lundy and Lewis. These two have had plenty of battles over this race so far. We're only on to lap number 5, but there we go. Lundy does take advantage, does get the lead in that one. And here we go. Here's the cars coming into the pits. Butcher into the pit lane. Pedreño follows him in. Ismail Fassi, he's the odd one out of this front pack. He's staying out.
That's a very interesting strategy. You look on the onboard, you look at the track, you can start to see those damp patches now starting to form on the track, which suggests time to go on to the Inters. And oh, look at Iker Baena and everything. He's closing every single corner he goes around pretty much on these guys. I don't think he'll actually close in enough though, because as we saw on the in-lap for everyone else other than Iker, everyone, he was roughly just staying the same. And in fact, I don't think this has really worked for Iker. I think he's a lap too short, and as you can see, he's right off the back of the pack. And well, he'll close up a little bit, but oh, that's not very good for Iker in the end. I think he's ended up on the bad side of that, and well, a lot of work to be done for the Spaniard. And well, Ishmael and Matthew Alder going for the interesting strategy there, staying out on the mediums one more lap.
Yeah, both of these, of course, had a fantastic battle for the PlayStation Championship last year, and Matthew Alder didn't have a very good race last season around here on the PlayStation. Finished a long way down the order, whereas Ismail Fassi had a much nicer time of things, taking the victory around here. Gonna need a bit of a miracle, I think, now, if he wants to take a victory, given that these conditions are, well, you can just see how much he's having to fight the steering wheel, how delicate he's having to be on that brake pedal. No assists, of course, in the top few tiers here at PSGL. He is struggling all over the place, feathering the throttle. Through turn number 16, 17 and 18. Will Lewis and Carter Lundy still having their own little battle as well. What this does mean, now that we've had some rain, is the fastest lap point is probably settled, and it's Ben Chishabo Kanye who has got that fastest lap at the moment. So probably something we're not going to have to worry about when it comes to championship permutations. Later on, Ismail Fassi into the pits. Matthew Alder surely will have to follow in. And that means Alfie Butcher retakes the lead of the race. And Ruben Pedreño keeping him honest at the moment.
Yeah, and at the moment, looking in the midfield, Carter Lundy and Will Lewis still having a rather remarkable battle. It looks like it's calmed down for the bit, but on their outlap, on those intermediate tyres, they were definitely going at it quite a bit. And I tell you what, although Ishmael has lost places, I think he'll be a little bit happier to know that he's in 6th place right now, especially considering Matthew Alder all the way down in 16th now, and well, 4 seconds off Iker Baena, and I think Danny Lusig is out of this race now, or at least out of an opportunity, obviously, unless there's a safety car. But I think Ishmael would be feeling a little bit all right with that. You know, he's made a strategy blunder, but he's still in a rather high position. But he's got obviously Carter Lundy and Will Lewis coming up behind him, and well, I wonder if we'll see a bit more battling between that Mercedes and that Alfa Romeo, because we're seeing quite a bit so far.
Yeah, we are. These two really seem to be trying to keep each other honest at the moment. Of course, traditionally, where we haven't got the DRS, it just seems to just make things a little bit harder for overtakes to happen, which is bad news if you're this man on your screen at the moment. Joost Noordijk down in 10th place. Every race this season, he had finished on the podium. The 5 he'd done, he'd got 5 podiums up until last time out in Saudi Arabia. And he's going to have to put in some, fantastic drive with a day worthy performance if he wants to get on the podium here. Sticking to the intermediates in qualifying may well have cost Noordijk a shot at the championship, and a track where he won it couple of seasons ago on the PlayStation platform. It is still Butcher leading this race. Pedreño in second. That gap staying at about 1 second at the moment. If it stays as it is, Butcher would be 12 points ahead going into the final round at Silverstone, so would be looking very comfortable indeed. But 21 laps to go. Anything can still happen. Who's to say the rain won't get harder? Who's to say the rain won't stop completely?
Oh yeah, definitely. But we look currently right now, Alfie just looks so confident, doesn't he, in lead of this race. He's now got the gap over a second, and with no DRS, it makes it a lot more difficult for Ruben Pedreño actually to pass him. But definitely Alfie will be feeling a lot more confident, and I think Jack Laverty will be feeling quite confident for a podium here today. At the moment, he's currently in third, but as you said, 21 laps to go, still a long way to go, and we've got quite a few battles here, but I'm starting to see a bunch of drivers obviously making a few mistakes, Nordyke being one of them. At the end of last lap, he went a little bit wide out of the penultimate corner, where he looked like he was actually closing down on Flores Fires. It actually ended up costing him a bit of time going wide there, so he's struggling a little bit for pace at the moment, and I think there's a few others, and well, Will Lewis again with Carter Lundy battling close with him. Everyone else a little bit more spread out at the moment.
Yeah, the field, like we said, this is the kind of things that you see. Later on in the race, I'm sure drivers are going to get a tiny bit more desperate to get those overtakes done. I mean, Will Lewis, maybe not so much. He is on for what would only be his third finish of the season and what would be his first points of the season. Via's behind him on for only his second point score of the season. We're seeing some different names up there. Jack Laverty's only scored, a couple of points so far this season. So, yeah, definitely a very different order than what we are used to, just because of the wet conditions and, of course, for wet qualifying that we had as well. Danny Lussig's AI car is what's causing the yellow flag in the final sector, so that is of no concern to any of us, as we have had a move, in fact. Ismail Fassi battling with Max Wiesel, and that is Fassi up in towards 5th place as Ika Baena retires in the pit lane. We are down towards 15 drivers, and Fassi, on that slightly fresher set of intermediate tyres, has worked his way up into 5th.
Yeah, I think obviously that's just Ika Baena just giving up there really on the race, and well, he was miles off the rest of the field obviously because of the strategy decision, but you never know. Safety car could come out definitely, and I think this is something that everyone should say to drivers. And I was reading something about mentality earlier of drivers within league racing. I think it was on the recent PSGL tweet, but the mentality. It's not good to retire in the pits, particularly on lap 9 out of 28, I feel, because even if you are miles off at the moment, everything, I mean, you said it yourself, Luke, a minute ago, anything can change in a league race, especially one like this where the competition is so fine and so close compared to each other. I mean, even without DRS and everything, we're seeing gaps, we're seeing massive trains of drivers, and although overtakes will be scarce, it actually gives drivers more the opportunity to send it down the inside and take more risks, of course, particularly if you're Joost Nordyke, particularly as well if you're Ruben Pedreño. Last thing he would want is Alfie Butcher to actually go on and win this race, because he will know that his championship hopes are not exactly shot, but they become very, very slim, let's just be honest.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, if Alfie takes the victory, he will have done something that no one has done this season, which is take consecutive victories. No one has managed 2 in a row so far this year, and Alfie, he's looking pretty good for it at the moment. I mean, these two, again, is a long way to go. I don't want to give anyone the commentator's curse, but they're looking pretty good at the moment. The gap when they came out of the pits between Pedreño and Laverty was 2 seconds. It's now 3.3, 3.4 seconds. So Laverty, even though he's managed to drop Ben Chabo, Conye, and the rest of the pack, these drivers are just looking clear at the front at the moment. Butcher and Pedreño, as they have done all season, putting on a fantastic performance. And amazingly, if it stays as it is, this would be Pedreño's first podium in, well over a month. It'd be his first podium since round number 4 at the Mexican Grand Prix. Started with 3 podiums out of the first 4 races, has had none in the 5 since then. Yet amazingly, can still have a chance of taking the championship heading into the next round, as Ismail Fassi is continuing his moves up the order. He's got himself up in towards 4th place, and Ben Chabo Conye unable to fight back in towards turn number 12. So, we're seeing from Fassi, it might be wet, but you can still get moves done at the normal places. Turn 1 and turn well, turn 11 on that occasion. But turn 1 still giving him some success.
Yeah, well, he seems actually to be one of the quickest on track at the moment, and we said about the strategy, he kind of made a blunder by coming in a bit too late there, but actually he's moving up the positions quite quickly. Sent it at turn 1 on Max Wiesel, and there on Bentz as well. He's moving past it. It was quite a send as well on the Aston Martin. So Ismail looking very, very strong. His next target is Jack Laverty in the Ferrari, and well, he doesn't even need to think about behind, does he? Because he's already almost a second clear of Bentz Sabakonyi. I'm sorry if I've fluffed that up. That's a very tricky name to say, if I'm honest with you, at first time. But it does look like he is getting away, Ismail Fassi, and it does definitely look like he has got that Ferrari as his next target ahead.
Yeah, definitely. His teammate, he's worrying a bit more about defending. Cartolundi managing to get very close to the back of Max Wiesel in the final sector, but nothing doing on that lap. Everything just sort of staying the same. Everything looking like a very wet Formula 1 race at the moment. At the start of the race, it was carnage. Contact between Pookie and Jack West sent Istvan Pookie towards the wall. That brought out a virtual safety car. West retiring in the pit lane. We've had Miklevcic retire as well out on circuit in an incident. Lusink and Baena have retired in the pit lane. Of course, we've had the rain coming down, and we're not even halfway through the race yet. So who knows what the rest of the race has in store, and who knows whether Cartolundi is close enough on this occasion to the back of Max Wiesel, the German, just staying far enough ahead there, but Lundy taking that wider line, taking that later apex, seeing if he can get the grip. It's just so tough, of course, to follow, even with his better Formula 1 cars. Following in someone else's dirty air can be very tricky indeed, but this is going to be an opportunity. Down the inside in towards turn number 15 goes Cartolundi. Has he got enough of the curve ahead? Oh, Max Wiesel, side by side, they're going to go through 16 and 17, and in the end, Max Wiesel just about hangs on to this.
And Cartolundi taking all sorts of different lines, definitely looking more confident with the car at the moment than Max Wiesel ahead, and the battle has cost him a little bit, but it doesn't seem to matter. But for Cartolundi, he's definitely got another opportunity here. Max Wiesel using quite a bit of VRS, it looks like, to give him a bit more power down the straight, and well, Carter will have to go again. He's not opted for turn 1, which would have been quite ambitious because he was at that point quite far back. But definitely, this is a nice battle in the midfield between a lot of these drivers. And well, for Cartolundi, he seems to be trying to follow in the same footsteps as Ismail Fassi, but maybe a little bit slower, perhaps a little bit more cautious from the Alfa Romeo. But who knows? Maybe as soon as he gets past Max Wiesel, he'll quickly dispense of Bentz Sabakonyi in 5th place as well. But Cartolundi looking strong at the moment, but he's definitely carrying the likes of Will Lewis, Forrest Vyers and Joost Noordijk behind him as well. So got a big train here, and I guess there's still a good chance of some good entertainment here.
Yeah, there is. We've got this big train sort of, from the back of Bentz Sabakonyi back towards Joost Noordijk. Then just over a second behind him, Andrei Tarabukin, coming under quite a lot of pressure on the previous lap from Christoph Schaller and Duncan Hoffland, and it is the 2 Red Bulls of Norbert Jakob and Matthew Older that are bringing up the rear of the field at the moment, as the rain, still coming down at a similar intensity to what we saw earlier in qualifying. So nowhere near going for a set of dry tyres, understandably, and nowhere near a set of the full wet Pirelli tyres. Everyone would just be trying to manage these intermediates to make sure that they can get them towards the end of the race. I don't think anyone will be wanting to make an extra pit stop if they can avoid it. And you can see there, 1:46.9 for Alfie Butcher on that lap. Pedreño very similar. That gives us an idea just how much slower they're having to take things at the moment. We're about 10 seconds slower than what they were at the start of the race, despite, of course, the fuel loads burning off. You would be expecting the drivers, if anything, to be finding a bit of time. As still, Lundy closes up on the back of Max Wiesel, and Ismail Fassi, he has now gone to the back of Jack Laverty. We'll see whether the Spaniard can retake that podium place, which he had, of course, before he pitted a lot later than everyone else for the intermediates.
Yeah, he looks very, very quick, and I'm wondering if it's actually Jack Laverty a little bit struggling in these wet conditions, because although Bentz hasn't exactly gone with Ismail, it's definitely quite clear to see that Jack Laverty has fell back more to the 2 leaders out in front than obviously Bentz has to Ismail. But obviously Jack Laverty's going quite strong in P3 at the moment. He's obviously deserved his place there, but he's got to be quite careful now, pick up the pace a little bit, because he has got a rapid Spaniard behind him looking for a podium. Obviously, again, these two both from the PlayStation platform as well. I think they were both also potentially rivals on that platform at the front of that field. So this is going to be an interesting battle. They potentially know each other quite well, do they? But obviously all the rest of them behind, just sitting behind at the moment. And, well, there's a few battles brewing in this midfield, I have to say.
Yeah, there is. Anyone wondering if anyone saw Floris Valles take a very interesting line down the straight there, almost as if he was trying to break the toe to Joost Noordijk, but obviously that's just meaning that he lost the toe as well to Will Lewis. So, yeah, whether he was trying to cool the tyres down, I don't see why you would be doing that. It's not like the rain is stopping at the moment, as Jakub gets another penalty, and I think we're going to see Fassi taking third place here. Down the inside goes the Alpine driver on the Ferrari. There's not a lot Jack Laverty could have done in that situation. That is Ismail Fassi up in towards third place, and we'll see if Ben Chasabo-Conye can also catch up to the Ferrari. We'll see whether Fassi can do anything about these drivers in front of him. And talking about Ben Chasabo-Conye, he's got bigger things to worry about now, because there goes Max Wiesel down the inside into the S's. Max Wiesel, very opportunistic from the German man. He takes fifth place.
Yeah, but watch out for Carter Lundy behind. He just went slightly into the back of Ben Chasabo-Conye there. I'm hoping Carter hasn't got damage there, because otherwise that would mean his race is over. A little bit of understeer on the exit of it, but I don't think he has got damage. Will Lewis almost actually got in the action there. So again, this midfield battle is brewing, and it's heated up, and Max Wiesel has been left to fly. And if Benz can't keep up, this is only going to be more damning for Carter Lundy, who is actually using his overtake a little bit there, perhaps to look for an overtake, but he's not going to get it, as Benz potentially going for an overtake. It did cause Max Wiesel actually to go a little bit defensive, and so does he here. So this is a little bit of a battle through Sector 2, going into Sector 3 now, and this is looking tricky side by side in the corner. Usually the inside line is favoured, but these wet conditions can make it tricky, but it does look like Bentz has got the position. And look at Carter Lundy now looking for the outside line. That's very tricky to get the outside line done around there, as Will Lewis all of a sudden as well on the inside. So Carter probably very stressed out in that whole sector, really, as that car's behind and in front to think about all throughout that sector, but seems to have maintained his position, and I think as everyone has, except for Bentz, who's gone up, and Max Wiesel, obviously, who's gone down a position.
Yeah, all that hard work, I think all it's really done is cost them plenty of time, as Will Lewis dives out briefly, thinking about a move, trying to spook Carter Lundy. He may only be young, the Canadian, but he's too experienced to fall for a move like that. Gap has now just grown slightly at the start of the field, because it did briefly touch around the half a second point. Alfie Butcher and Ruben Pedreño, both of them, I mean, compared to the battle we're seeing with Chasabo-Conye and the rest of that pack, both of them with an extreme amount of ERS at the moment. Ismail Fassi, he's almost within 5 seconds of his compatriot at the moment, as he tries to make it a three-way battle in the final half of this race. Butcher leading, Pedreño in second, Noordijk in 10th. Means it would be a two-way battle between Butcher and Pedreño for the title at Silverstone, with the Brit heavily looking the favourite for that one. Here we go again then with Max Wiesel on the back of Chasabo-Conye, who's just sticking towards the middle of the road. Moves over towards the right-hand side. Can Wiesel go around the outside? Can Will Lewis go down the inside of Carter Lundy? The Englishman takes advantage of Lundy, who might have been distracted by the battle ahead of him. And that is Will Lewis back ahead of Lundy, as he was earlier on. He is up into 7th, and you never know whether we're going to see... Ooh, tiny bit of contact there. You never know whether we're going to see the likes of Valles, Noordijk, Tarabukin and Scheller be able to take advantage of all of this.
Yeah, but look at the time that they've lost there. That Will Lewis now pretty much a second behind, but Carter Lundy there looking for a cheeky move to go down the inside. Will Lewis saw it coming from a mile away and immediately covered that inside line. So Carter Lundy at the moment probably a little annoyed about losing that position, as any driver would, because he was looking to potentially get past Max Wiesel, but Will Lewis up a place, and I think Will Lewis has to have had quite a decent race so far.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you, Sam. Bit of contact between Valles and Noordijk there. Sorry, I think Noordijk was going for the move, and I'm not sure whether Valles was half defending Well, half deciding to go for an attack on Lundy. It was quite a bit of a late move in the braking zone, but in the end, Nordyke has managed to make it work. He's now starting to make some moves up the order, but I'm starting to fear it's too little too late for the Dutchman.
Oh, never say never, has to be said, but obviously with at the front of this train in 5th place is Ben Siabo Konye, and he's 3 seconds behind Jack Laverty, and then it's a further 3 seconds to gain from there. I think if Joost even had an incredible pace amongst the rest of the field, I'm pretty sure it'd be pretty difficult to come back to these 2 leaders. And I mean, there's a 6-point difference, isn't it, from P1 to P3? So that would mean that Nordyke would be 15 points behind still. But even, well, P3 at this point seems almost impossible, doesn't it, without a safety car or anything strange going on. I'm not sure if it's still raining, is it, or has the track actually stopped raining? I haven't seen a few drops for a little while.
You know what? I think you're right. I think it might have stopped raining out here. So this is going to be intriguing to see what other drivers do. Of course, we know it's very wet, and we know it's probably going to stay that way for another 4 or 5 laps before anyone's even considering a set of the dry tyres. Max Wiesel again, all over the back of Ben Siabo Konye. This race has had everything at the moment. We've had crashes, we've had dry to wet, and it looks like we may well see a bit of dry weather towards the end of this race.
Oh.
And someone is going in early for a set of dry tyres. This is an aggressive move. Might as well do it when you're outside the points. Christoph Scheller down the pit lane on lap number 17. This can only be for a set of the medium tyres. Now, we said earlier on, when Andrei Tarabukin in qualifying went out on a set of dry tyres, that was a bit early. That was on a fresh set of softs, and that was on a circuit which was a lot drier than what this is now, as Christoph Scheller drifts his way out of the pit lane. This is going to be like driving on glass.
Yeah, well, it's too late. Oh, God. Yeah, look, no. It's way too early, isn't it? I think Christoph has immediately noted it, but he can't change his mind now. He's really got to stick with it, and, well, he's got to kind of pray, really, that the time the track dries and everything is when, let's say, obviously everyone else is around midway around the circuit. So basically in this scenario right now is what Christoph would be hoping for, but I really do doubt that'll be the case. But yeah, it's way too early to go onto the dry tyres, and I think Christoph will be damning himself. But I mean, to be honest with you, what was he, P12, P11 around the time? It's definitely worth the gamble to potentially get yourself up the field, but I'm not going to lie, I don't think the gamble's really paid off, and I think it'll be still a couple of laps yet, as I think I'm cutting in to some great battling here in the midfield as well. Once again, between quite a few protagonists in this race so far. Will Lewis, Carter Lundy up the inside, should be able to get the position, but Max Wiesel, and that's just unfortunate, that is. And well, Max Wiesel actually into the pits, but Will Lewis, who was actually having quite a decent race, once again having it destructed there. And well, we can't really blame Max Wiesel. At the end of the day, it was a very tricky battle, and well, between all 3 of them, and I think it's just a bit of unlikely contact. And well, actually Max Wiesel's decided to retire in the pits, so has he picked up a bit of damage there or something? But again, we talk about this, maybe he could have just done what Christoph done, even though he would have lost in the first couple of laps, and just begged potentially for it to be all right. But I don't know. I mean, Christoph's now coming back into the pits, so it only suggests to me he's going to retire from this race.
Yeah, it's a gamble that I think even I could predict that this wasn't going to work for Christoph Scheller. He's coming down the pit lane now. Still hasn't retired yet, so this is going to be the intermediate tyres going back on. He really needed a safety car for his strategy to have any chance of working. Unfortunately for him, he was easily going to be the most likely cause of a safety car, trying to drive round on the medium tyres. Very unfortunate between, I think, Lewis, Lundy and Wiesel. I think every single one of them had a bit of a tap there, and it was Will Lewis who ended up losing out. Back towards the front of the field, just over 10 laps to go. Alfie Butcher leading by 0.6 of a second. Ismail Fassi, he's really working hard to try and get that gap down, and if he can somehow get within DRS range by the time the track dries out, if the track dries out, he could have a big say in this race, and inadvertently, a big say in the championship.
Yeah, almost definitely. And I think any position now between the top 3 will have any sort of massive effect on the championship, because if Ruben Vedrenio gets past Alfie Butcher, it goes from a 12-point gap just to a 4-point gap. And then obviously if Ismail Fassi gets past Ruben Pedreño then, and if Alfie Butcher still wins this race, it's basically almost game over for Ruben Pedreño. It's basically win or bust, and even then he's got to basically beg for Alfie Butcher to not score basically any points in the last round of the season. But this is really tricky. Look at Flores Valles now being the first one to take, well, not the first one, the second one to take the potential opportunity of, going into the pits with dry tyres. And, well, we see Flores come out of the pits, and it's a bit of a better story than what Christoph is, obviously because the track's dried up a bit, but I don't think it's that much better. But although saying that, coming through the S's, he's losing time, but he does seem to be a little bit more stable than perhaps Christoph was. So for Flores here, if this track does dry out enough in the next lap or so, and obviously everyone else doesn't come into the pits, this could actually turn out to be quite a really good strategy here from Flores. But he is going down the times, and I think at the moment it's still a lap or two too early to pit. But I mean, more or less, I think we're going to get back onto the dry tyres. But what on earth are the leaders going to be thinking right now? The track is drying very slowly, and well, it's a massive gamble for whoever has to pit first, because they have no idea whether it's going to be dry enough or not to come in. But the times could consistently seem to be going down by about 5-6 tenths each lap. I've been keeping an eye on that for the last couple of laps, and well, they are getting now into the 43s. And if we remember in qualifying, it was the 1 minute 40s for that. So in the race, you'd probably be looking at about 1 minute 42 before it's suggestively dry enough to head onto the dry tyres. So at the moment, this race really now comes down to a lot of strategy. But even then, I really do think it's going to be down to when Alfie pits, Ruben pits. I don't think it's going to be the case one in, one stays out. It's going to be they're going to pit together, I think. So yeah, we're in for a very entertaining last few laps, I think.
Yeah, we are. I mean, we just watched Flores Valles make his way round turn number 1. See how much time he loses out there. Only about a tenth of a second out of turn number 1. So you never know. One man who I think it might be worth coming into the pits now, you know, it's boom or bust if you're Joost Noordijk. The only way you're staying in this championship hunt is if you do something completely different. If I was Joost, I'd be tempted to just throw caution for the wind at the moment and just go for it. And just go for a set of soft tyres. You never know what could happen, as you never know what's going to happen here between Lundy and Charbot-Cognier. These two have been battling and switchbacking and doing all sorts for the past couple of laps. And it looks like, finally, Carter has carved a gap and made his way through. Lundy takes 5th place. Now Noordijk's going to try and attack round the outside of Charbot-Cognier. Has he got the grip to get the cutback in that car? I'm not sure he has, as Ruben Pedreño has gambled. Pedreño comes into the pits. Brassy does
Everyone's
as well.
in.
Alfie Butcher stops out.
Oh, this could be huge of a decision for them. Joost Noordijk's gone wide. I don't know what's happened to him. He's just a couple of positions there. Is he going to pit from this? Yes, he is. He makes a very last minute decision to go into the pits there. Very mixed opinions whether it's time to come into the pits. Flores suggested to me to, but I think he's had a bit of a spin out there. But I tell you what, the track is definitely looking dry enough.
Look how much time he's gaining.
Yeah, like I said, I think he's gained a lot of time, but I think he has had a spin, Flores, which means that he's probably not going to gain much to what he had before. But, oh, for Alfie Butcher, this is going to be very interesting now, because if those intermediates are really not having it in these dry conditions, if the track really has dried up, we could be looking at a couple of positions. And, well, if you're Joost Noordijk, potentially this could lead you to still being in chance of the championship, but still, even then, it's going to be quite slim, because then you've got Ruben Pedreño gaining quite a handful of points on you as well. So for Joost Noordijk, this is going to be quite an interesting and unpredictable last few laps when it comes to whether he's still going to have a chance of taking this championship in Britain next week.
Tamabukin might... Oh, I thought for a second there Tamabukin was going to attack Ruben Pedreño on a set of intermediates. I was worried that was going to end dreadfully. Bassi has got ahead of Will Lewis. Pedreño's got ahead of Tamabukin. It was actually it was Noordijk and Charbot-Cognier who made contact with each other. Charbot-Cognier was very wide off the circuit, and Noordijk was as well. So things have just gone to bad to worse for Noordijk in this race. Butcher finally in the pits. Where is he going to come out? He's going to be behind Ruben Pedreño. I think that we can guarantee. It's where he's going to be relative to Ismail Fassi could be the interesting thing here. And, you know, with the one final race to go, could make things very lively in the championship. Lundy gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Any chance of a good points finish has just ebbed away for him. DRS has been enabled. Pedreño takes the lead of this race. Butcher's in second. Fassi still in third. Now, how quickly will Butcher's tyres warm up? And has Fassi still got a chance of attacking here? He's 1.5 behind.
He's quite lucky that the track did dry up so much, but Ismail Fassi, I'll tell you what, he has really closed that gap to these two leaders, and you know what? He's in the DRS here. With DRS now being enabled, Alfie's got to watch his back because Ismail's been absolutely pushing, and we know he's obviously quick at this track when it comes to qualifying in the dry because, well, he was on the front row of the grid, he was with the two leaders, and, well, hey-ho, he's with the two leaders again, but Alfie at the moment, it's going to be a few things going on in his mind. As you mentioned that stat earlier, Luke, no one's taken consecutive wins this season, and, well, this is basically the last chance to do it. Obviously, well, Ruben Pedreño could win in Britain next week, obviously, but it's just the last chance for Alfie to do it, obviously, if he wants to do it. Then he's obviously got to think about, does he really want to risk everything for the championship at this current point? Because he's sitting in a good position where, although it is now going to be a 4-point gap at the moment, he's still got that advantage to be leading the way at the front. But very tricky times for Alfie, because if he loses the position, then it's only down to 2 points between him and Ruben Pedreño, and they're two very, very quick drivers who are expected to be at the front every week here in PSGL F2. So really, a few things for Alfie Butcher to think about.
Yeah, I think we could say with a lot of confidence that this championship is going to the final round. I think, seeing as he ran off circuit on the last lap and has got a 3-second time penalty, we can say that Joost Noordijk is not going to be part of that battle. He briefly overtook Carter Lundy, I think, by just going a tiny bit too deep. And I think Lundy for a second was thinking about going for the move. Will Lewis looks as though he might still get his first point of the season. Down the inside he goes on Floris Vyers. Let's not forget, he was probably going to be a lot higher up the field. Maybe one lap later for Vyers. He'd be sitting very pretty now at the front of this train in 5th. Instead, he's at the back of it in 11th place. Jack Levity's having a very lonely race at the moment, but a very consistent race towards 4th place at the moment. And Butcher, out of nowhere, has closed up the gap to Ruben Pedreño. He's got within DRS range, and he's dragged Ismail Fassi with him. 5 laps to go. Are we going to have a 3-way fight for this win?
Well, I think this is, for Ismail Fassi, it's definitely just about pride, isn't it? It's about taking a win in this league, and, well, what two opponents to actually take the win off than the two championship rivals, Alfie Butcher and Ruben Pedreño. So big pride at stake for Ismail Fassi. But these three are definitely going to go at it, because surely Alfie's going to think about allowing himself to have more comfortability in this championship. That's what he would have wanted. Speaking of, though, I just want to mention, though, where has Duncan Hoffman come from? How come all of a sudden he's battling for the top 5? Most of the race, I swear I've only seen him around 11th, P12, P13. He's been absolutely not really anywhere in this race, and all of a sudden he's appearing for a top 5 finisher. He's actually ahead of Joost Noordijk as well, which, again, for most of the race, I've just seen Joost ahead of Duncan, so he's definitely travelled up the field well in this race, and obviously, well, at the start of this, he was definitely a championship contender.
Sorry to interrupt, Sam. Andrei Tamabukin has sent it from, I think he was still in Mexico when he went for that breaking point. He sent it on Matthew Older, made contact with Older, made contact with Joost Noordijk, and there's a perfect example of why Duncan Hoffman's got his way so far up the field, because there's been that much chaos and confusion happening behind him that, yeah, we're just seeing crazy moves like that, and I don't think Noordijk's going to be too happy with that one. Here comes Alfie Butcher, though, on the back of Pedreño. Not close enough on this occasion. The big advantage Alfie has, he's got 1 lap fresher tyres, let's not forget. And on the softs, that makes a big, big, big difference around this circuit. Pedreño's holding on for now, but I think the pendulum's swinging back towards Butcher.
Yeah, it definitely is, and, well, it's a night to forget if you're Joost Noordijk, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's absolutely been a disastrous qualifying and really quite a disastrous race as well. And For some people, it's been a good race as well, but Ismail Fassi, let's not forget about him. These two will definitely be jostling for position. I guarantee Alfie and Ruben will be jostling for that top one position, and obviously with the tyres being one lap older, it's going to make a massive difference in the end of this race. But for Ismail Fassi, he just wants to have his popcorn out and just take a look at this battle. He's happy with a P3 at the moment. He doesn't really want much more than that. It looks like he's just holding on. Obviously, well, he doesn't need to worry about behind, because then he's got the lonely Jack Laverty sitting 9 seconds behind him, and then obviously 8 seconds, almost 9 seconds ahead of Carter Lundy, who's, well, he was battling with Duncan Hoffland, but he seems to have got the pace advantage to get away from Duncan at the moment. But Forrest, 10-second time penalty for exceeding track limits. I have no idea what he's done there to get that, particularly out of turn one, but that's besides the point. He's out of the points at the moment, so not really too much difference really made to his race, to be honest with you. And I think for Flores, it's been a race of promise, but also a race of possibly disaster in the end. And I think it's unfortunate, this race for Flores, because he was running in the points, but I think as soon as he made that decision to go on to those soft tyres from the intermediates a few laps early, I think that's kind of cost him a little bit. So it's unfortunate for Flores, but he's got one more round. He will go again. Obviously very committed, as all these drivers are, and potentially could get a good result next week in Britain, but I think it's really game over when it comes to points for him this evening.
Yeah, certainly. I think he might have made contact with either Jacob Tavabukin or Charbot Cognier. All of them were very close, and there was quite a lot of the front wing missing on the Williams. In the other Williams, though, as they just passed for laps for the retired car of Christophe Chalet, here is Alfie Butcher, hanging back from Ruben Pedreño at the moment. He's got 1 lap fresher tyres, he's got 25% more ERS, he's going to have the DRS as well. Not the ideal situation if you're Pedreño at the moment, but he's certainly going to defend for all he's worth in this final 2.5 laps. Will Butcher go for it this time around, or will he once again decide to just wait behind and leave it right until the final lap? And could we even see, as Floris Valles makes its 8 retirements in this race, could we even see Ismail Fassi take a victory here? Here comes Alfie Butcher once again, not using any ERS down the straight. Pedreño feeling the need, though, to go defensive on this occasion, so Butcher says, I'll try it round the outside on that occasion. Tries for cutback out of turn number 12. Pedreño just about holds on for now, but you're just getting the feeling that as soon as Butcher decides, right, I'm going for this move, it's going to happen. He just looks to have so much more pace in that car at the moment.
Yeah, he's definitely looking a lot more confident than Ruben Pedreño. Obviously, no surprise, really. Those soft tyres, they go off very quickly at this track. You're thinking only 2 more laps and they'll be considered dead by most drivers. And obviously, the tyres overheat like mad on this circuit as well. Of course, the hot temperatures of the track, and obviously then, well, basically sector 1 ruining your tyres when it comes to heat, and well, with the degradation on this track as well, makes it rather large. But yeah, Alfie Butcher definitely looking comfortable, and if I'm honest with you, I think he's taking the race win in this one, because he does look a lot quicker through the corners, and well, with the DRS, and we saw how close he was last time, I would say it's pretty confident he can get a move done on this straight here. And look how close he is, only around 2 tenths behind, and well, he's taking lines to be out of the dirty air, and well, that says it all really. Right at the end here, he may not even need the DRS right at the end. Oh my goodness, that's rather very, very close to being interesting defending there from Ruben Pedreño, but I think he will just get away with that one. But he has helped himself out a little bit, as Alfie Butcher does need to come back at him. Oh, but look at that, flashing red light, no chance to defend as Alfie Butcher takes the lead of this race. And well, I said it a few seconds ago, I think that's race done and dusted now for Ruben Pedreño, at least, unless something bizarre happens. He's run out of ERS, and well, the DRS is powerful, but with Alfie Butcher having that ERS advantage on his side, I think it's now really game, set and match when it comes to this race. And well, for Alfie Butcher, the championship now is pretty much, he's got one hand on the trophy, it has to be said.
Yeah, certainly. And I think Pedreño was trying what we saw in esports in 2021, where Longue, tried to slow down and let Otmaier through to get the DRS. It didn't work for Longue on that occasion. It's not worked for Pedreño on this occasion. I think everyone far too wise for that move. On to the final lap of the race and Alfie Butcher. 19 more corners to go. 18 to go. Can he hold on to take this victory and take a big, big leap to winning the championship next week? As things stand, it will be 12 points at the moment, and things could get a lot worse for Ruben Pedreño if Ismael Fassi decides to have a go at things in towards turn number 12. You'd imagine it's going to be the most likely point. ERS light flashing on the back of Pedreño. Fassi just dropping a bit further back, so I think Pedreño is going to be safe on this one. Someone who might not be safe, though, is Cartolondi. Yes, he's got a speeding penalty. Yes, I think that means it's going to be almost impossible to remove. But Duncan Hoffland will still want to get this move done. So this could be one to watch between the Alfa Romeo, who has the advantage of the fresher tyres, and Duncan Hoffland, who has the advantage of the slipstream, and, of course, that drag reduction system. So we'll see whether Hoffland, in what has been a valiant fight for Duncan to try and stay in the championship battle, we'll see if he can secure himself top 5 out on the circuit here. Cartolondi is going defensive here, just leaves the door wide open, and Duncan says, do you know what? You can move all over the track. I'll stick to the inside line. I'll go down the inside. And that is Duncan Hoffland up in towards 5th for now, but we're going to move away from this battle quickly. Around the final corner, Alfie Butcher takes the victory here at Austin and takes a big, big step to becoming the champion here in F2. Butcher wins. Pedreño and Fassi cross the line in 2nd and 3rd. Still Duncan Hoffland and Cartolondi are battling tooth and nail here to try and get the 5th place off of each other. Jack Laverty crossed to the line in 4th position. It will be a 5th place for Duncan Hoffland. Cartolondi will plummet down the order. Only loses 1 place in the end, actually, because of other penalties. Will Lewis in 6th, Lundy 7th. Nordyke, Charbel Conye and Andre Tarabukin scores his first point of the season, but the winner, and now the favourite of the championship, surely, is Alfie Butcher.
Yeah, I think it's set in stone really now, isn't it? 12 points clear now in that championship fight. Well, Ruben Pedreño, the only way he could win it now pretty much is, well, he needs to win the race first of all, and, well, he can finish P2 and still take the championship, but obviously Alfie Butcher would not have to score, and I believe actually because of the amount of wins now not Ruben Pedreño, Alfie Butcher has now in this championship, it'll basically mean that the fastest lap point is possibly the only thing that can really save Ruben Pedreño, but with the form that Alfie Butcher's had this season, I think unless any abnormality sort of things go on next race in Britain, the finale obviously of this F2 season, which has been so exciting all the way through, I think without any abnormalities to what is going on with Alfie Butcher's race, I think really it's set in stone with his title, considering the consistency he's had, particularly in recent races.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, he's just stepped up the game where it has really mattered, you know, come through the adversity, and Alfie Butcher takes the victory here, 4th one of the season, 2nd in a row. As we said, pretty much favourite for the championship now. It's going to take a lot for Ruben Pedreño to beat him. Pedreño did finish in 2nd place there. Ismael Fassi getting his first podium of the season in 3rd. Laverty's best result in 4th. Hoffland 5th. Will Lewis in 6th. Lundy, Nordyke, who is now out of the championship hunt, in 8th. Charbel Conye, Tarabukin rounding out the top 10. The Red Bulls were the only drivers to finish and not get in the points. Jakob and Matthew Alder. And then Vyers, Scheller, Wiesel, Baena, Lusink, Miklavcic, West, Istvan Pulki. All of them retiring in what was certainly a race of attrition there. And a very interesting race indeed. We were never quite certain what the rain was going to do. But in the end, stopping out that extra lap, yes, initially cost Alfie time, but just gave him the fresh tyres at the end. And there was nothing Ruben or Ismael could do about that.
Yeah, I think Ruben must be a little bit annoyed that the track did dry up quicker than what he would think it would, because obviously if it dried up a little bit more quicker, I'm pretty sure this would have been a way more of a challenging race for Alfie to get back at Ruben. But well, he's already out of the session. I saw him leave the session already straight away, which is quite early, which suggests to me perhaps he's a bit annoyed at the end of the race, obviously, as anyone would be if they're fighting for a championship. But Alfie Butcher, I mean, it's another one of sort of those we talk about the Xbox drivers. When they're on Xbox, they don't really seem to be in the shadow sort of thing, but we've seen a couple of them now head up the ranks. We've seen the likes of Jake Benham, Thomas Ronhard, Tom Manley. They've come from Xbox over to PC in the last few seasons, particularly in PSGL. And already they're looking like they could battle in F1, battle with those esports drivers like Jarno Otmir, Freddie Rasmussen, Brendan Lee, etc. And particularly for Alfie Butcher, being at the young age of 15 and actually still not being able to even compete in esports at the moment. We've got to really just say he's got a bright future ahead of him. Obviously, when it comes to esports, if he just keeps up the pace, and it's almost a certainty him and Ruben Pedreño will be competing in F1 next year. So it'll be interesting to see how those two go up. And well, I mean, after that race, those two do seem to be the two standouts in this division, despite obviously the amount of talent we've got here.
Yeah, and I think obviously if we mention those two as the standouts, someone who's going to be feeling a bit aggrieved. Really, the last two races have come at the worst time for Joost Noordijk, finishing 10th and 8th in both of them after getting podiums in his first 5 races. Certainly not ideal. And it all started going wrong for Joost really after that qualifying session. Stuck on the intermediates. Everyone else went for the soft tyres. I think we mentioned it at the time. Probably lucky that he managed to even qualify in 12th.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about, I think it was P13 in the end, but we could talk about luck for Joost Noordijk, but we could also argue potentially that could be decision making, couldn't we? Obviously, in qualifying, yes, you've got the luck of the track drying up or not, but obviously then you've got that crucial decision making to make at the end of that qualifying. And we can't say that is down completely to Joost Noordijk, because obviously in a blink of an eye, and I mean, the race itself, though, for Joost Noordijk is more of a luck case, really. I think he had in that race, and being in the midfield, it's not easy alone. But it's been a really good season, though, for Joost Noordijk overall, and he will be gutted to be out of this championship battle now between, obviously, Pedreño and Butcher now. But I tell you something now, he is a driver that will come back stronger. And, well, I say that, he might not even be in F2 next year. I think he'll be another one of those drivers who'll be eyeing up a seat in F1 for next season in PSGL, alongside the other ones that have took it this far before this race, Duncan Hofland and potentially Max Wiesel as well. So, really, some good prospects there in the top 5 of that championship, and will possibly be battling up against the best of the best next season.
Yeah, they will. We'll have to wait and see who ends up in F1 next season, which esports drivers decide to take part. But here's a couple of drivers that have been shining in F2 this season. It is time for the interviews, and we're going to start with a man who, surely now, has one hand on the championship trophy. Alfie Butcher, a fantastic race from yourself. When the rain stopped again towards the end of the race, did you possibly think maybe I've just left this one lap too long, or were you always hoping that the soft tyres would come back to you?
Well, every week I normally go for the overcut, so I thought it was a little bit too wet to go into the dries when Ruben did, but it clearly was the better time to pit. But obviously the fresher tyres, and I knew the softs were going to struggle towards the end, so it was also a relief for the dry, to be fair, because I was struggling in the wet quite a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, tell us about that fantastic start to the race. I don't think I've ever seen, certainly on this game, anyone start in 4th place and being first by the end of turn 1.
Yeah, I was quite surprised myself, to be fair. It was, I think it all just played in my favour.
Yeah, certainly did. Silverstone, next time around, 12-point lead now in the championship. Still 17 on the table. I'm guessing it's just do what you've been doing for the rest of the season, and, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Why change your routine now?
Yeah, definitely. Just try and bring it home now.
Yeah, you are looking very good to do that, Alfie. So congratulations on the victory today, and we'll let you head off.
Cheers.
And next up is the man who is still in the championship hunt, and we've seen stranger things happen in real Formula 1. It is Ruben Pedreño. And Sam, why don't you take us through this?
As has to be said, you had obviously a great race again today, and obviously it was really just the two standouts with you and Alfie in the end. And it's no surprise going to look at the season, obviously, but I mean, I want to talk about that race. How did you feel, obviously, at the end of that race? Because now that the championship is looking quite slim for you. Did you think about potentially defending a bit harder, or do you reckon there was just nothing you could do when it came to Alfie in the end.
Well, first, congrats to Alfie because he had amazing pace in the end. And yeah, it was so difficult because I had to try a different thing in the stop for the drives. And yeah, I tried to stop a lap earlier, but the softs were dying in the end. So yeah, he had a lot better traction in the exits, and yeah, I wasn't able to do anything.
Yeah, and obviously we've talked about Alfie about this. Britain next week. Obviously you're going to have your eyes focused down on the championship, but what sort of mood are you in when it comes to next week?
Yeah, well, just winning and hope that Alfie crashes or something.
And obviously we're in a video game. We don't need to worry about any saying stuff like that, do we?
Yeah. But yeah, that's my aim. Just win the race and see what happens with Alfie.
Yeah, well, there's always a chance. Obviously, we were mentioned at the start of the stream, Raikkonen, obviously in 2007 with Hamilton, and obviously, I was about to say Verstappen, Hamilton and Alonso, obviously tripping over each other in the end, costing the championship, and obviously then obviously Felipe Massa and Hamilton the next year as well. So anything can happen, as you could say, as we've seen, obviously in PSGL as well, where we've seen titles decided on the last lap, but. Good luck to next week, obviously, Ruben, and good luck, obviously, to Alfie as well. And well, let the best man win, and congrats on P2 tonight.
Yes, thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks to Ruben for that one. And we've got the man who, even though he finished in third place, definitely provided a lot of the entertainment, especially in the intermediate conditions. It is Ismail Fassi. You just seem to have a lightning quick car there. So much speed on the damp circuit.
Yeah, first of all, GG's to Pedreño and Alfie. They were hell of a fast. And yeah, the quali lap, I waited till the end. Literally, I got the flag by 5 seconds, I think, or 6 or 10, I don't know. But we were late to have enough grip for the lap with the softs because it was a bit wet. And yeah, then in the race, Alfie started very well. He dive bombed both of us in the inside, so he passed and he went to B1. With the intermediate, I stayed well. I thought I was gonna be fast if I stayed one more lap with the mediums, but no, the track just got wet in a second. So yeah, I lost 3 positions, and I felt very nice with the intermediates. I felt very fast when I passed Jack, Max, and Benz. I think I was just pushing as hard as I could to catch Pedreño and Alfie, and then with the soft, I had to burn my ERS to catch Alfie's DRS. But didn't have enough to attack him to at least help Pedreño because yeah, we were very good friends. I don't have anything against Alfie, but you know we are very good friends, Pedreño and I. So I tried my best to help him to win. I was staying behind him without using ERS just to well, recharge a bit for later attack, but I couldn't catch Alfie. He was so fast with a lot of battery, and yeah, I couldn't do nothing.
Yeah, certainly. Do you think if you'd have pitted a lap earlier on the intermediates, or maybe even pitted a lap later on the softs, you might have had a chance at getting past Ruben and possibly getting past Alfie as well?
Maybe if in the first stint with the mediums, if I had pitted the same lap as Pedreño and Alfie, I could have helped Pedreño a bit more, but it is what it is. Alfie was super fast with the soft. He couldn't do anything to stop him, and he deserved to win.
Yeah, definitely a fantastic job from him. You've only been a reserve driver this season, but you've managed to get a podium. What's your hopes for next week and then possibly season 32 as well?
Well, first of all, just finishing the race in the points. I hope a podium again, or maybe a win if something happens at the top. But yeah, I'm very happy right now because I think it's my first podium on PC, and I felt fast today. So I hope next week is the same. And yeah, we will see.
Yeah, we will wait and see indeed. But congratulations, Isma. I believe it is your first podium on PC. I'll let you head off.
Thanks, mate.
And that is pretty much it then. That is it for the interview. So big thanks obviously to Alfie, Ruben and Isma for that one. Sam, one race left. 12 points between Alfie and Ruben in the championship. I mean, Ruben, he's got no choice. He's just got to go all guns blazing next week.
Really just ascend it sort of and see what happens, isn't it? For Ruben, yeah, because I think, in my opinion, I think Alfie's got this title done, and it's not to do with Ruben's pace. I think Ruben's pace has been fantastic all season, and particularly in this race as well. It shoe quite a lot that he has the pace to definitely be at the front and win this championship, but with the points deficit and the form that Alfie Butcher is on at the moment, I think it's gonna really have to there is going to have something abnormal to Alfie's race for something to go wrong. And well, again, we've seen it before, 2007, 2008, and I mean there's another one that we didn't mention but we can mention. Sebastian Vettel in 2012, of course, looked quite comfortable to take the championship, but obviously on lap 1 got damage and well, won the championship in the end, but definitely didn't make it easy for him that day. So things can definitely happen, and we've talked about the unpredictability of league races so many times, of course, and it does always come down to the last lap. It just always does. It doesn't matter what people say, but in motorsports it definitely does, and I think that's what will happen next week. And I think Alfie Butcher, despite him feeling probably a bit comfortable, maybe not to get too comfortable into next week, he'll still probably follow the same routines as he's been following the whole season in terms of how he practices, and obviously the same will go for Ruben Pedreño. And I think it really will be next week a very entertaining race, because next week, of course, it's really all guns blazing for the rest of the drivers as well. They don't really have anything else to worry about now, particularly now that Joost, Duncan and Max are all out of the title hunt. I think everyone else is going to be looking to show, particularly those in the lower end of the F2 standings, they're going to be looking to show, or well, have their last chance to show that they are capable of being in next year, because not only do we get potentially some people up to F1 next year, such as Alfie, Ruben and Joost, for example, we've got those who potentially could be in a threat of being down a tier as well, down into F3, because they haven't been performing strong enough in F2 this season. There's a huge dynamic for both ends of the way, so next week I think should be quite entertaining for those reasons. Obviously for drivers up and down the field looking to cement their place where they're going to be next year and next season, sorry.
Yes, certainly. I mean, there'll be plenty of drivers, as we've said, wanting to move up from F3. One of them might be Drake Dempsey. He's leading the championship at the moment in F3 by 20 points, so he can claim the championship tomorrow in PC F3. We've also got F4 to F6 tiers on tomorrow. Sunday sees the lower PlayStation tiers, and Monday sees PlayStation, F1, where Tia Tenderneco, aka Mirko Soriano, looks to secure the championship there. Make sure to join Jess Ball and Aidan Carter for that one. Thank you so much to Alfie, Ruben and Ismail for joining us for the interviews. Thanks to Sam for being a brilliant super sub in the commentary box. Let's not forget our lead partners, GT Omega, again, PSGL code, get 5% off on their website. All of our sponsors, Grid Rival as well. Thanks so much everyone for watching. Myself and hopefully Chris will be back next week with the championship finale. Will Butcher take the triumph at Britain, or can Pedreño sneak it away in the final round of the season? Take care of yourselves, everyone, and goodbye.
Broadcast was brought to you by GT Omega. and Grid Rival, proudly supporting PSGL.